Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very warm welcome to another session of Ask Dr. Saleem, and the first session of 2026. What a way to start New Year, alhamdulillah. Dr. Saleem, our first question is caviar, which is fish eggs, is that halal?
Such things are left to the taste of an individual. There is nothing explicit which forbids such things.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, are contraceptive or is contraceptive surgery allowed in Islam?
Absolutely. I mean, contraception as a measure to stall the reproductive process is something that has been allowed. So you can wear contraceptives, or if there is to be a permanent deterrence, then of course any such operation is also allowed. So you see, this is something that is again left to the discretion of the married couple. If they don't want any more children, it's absolutely fine to have this surgery.
And is it okay to have it if you haven't had children and you don't plan to have children?
Well, it all depends. Why would you do that? I mean, normally people would like to have children, and if they would not like to have children, again, that's a choice that they have. But I mean, normally this doesn't happen. But yes, in an exceptional case, that is not nothing that is explicitly prohibited in this regard.
Islam, Doc. What is the actual standing of Isa alayhi salam's death and return? Because in one end, I've raised this once, and I think I've got the answer. But we were reading Surah Zukhruf. And again, in that surah, there are some ayahs which says that he will return back. He hasn't, Allah has lifted him. So there's some confusion about the entire sort of his return. And I'd like some clarification. Thank you.
So, you see, the Quran has explicitly mentioned that he was, given death like normal people are given death. So, that happened to him as well. So if you read verse 55 of Surah number 3, which is Surah Al-Imran, you will see that the words are Inni mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayya, which means that we will give you death and then we will take you away from these people so that they are not able to mutilate your body. So he has died a natural death, and there is no possibility of his returning. His return is not something that is mentioned at all in the Quran. It is something which is mentioned in Hadith literature. And that Hadith literature also, if you look at the narratives, collate them and analyze them, you'll see that basically this is a dream of the Prophet in which he was shown that Jesus would one day, the Sharia that was, of course, that we know was abrogated by Paul after Jesus. So he is set to return. It is as if telling us that the original religion on which Jesus left his people will be revived. And the details are then given that he will revive the Sharia. The concept of the cross in which he was crucified would once again be made clear to them that he was never crucified. So basically it is a vision that was shown to the Prophet, and this is also in the Hadith literature. However, because people did not understand the subtle nature of dream, they thought it was like a physical return. And moreover, since also think that he was lifted alive, so all the more reason for them that he should come back and then complete his lifespan. And the verses that you are referring to in Surah Zukhruf, they are وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ, which means that he is a sign of the Day of Judgment. And that doesn't mean that he is going to, his return is going to signal the Day of Judgment. It only means that the way he has been created shows the power and the capacity of God. And if he can create him and Adam without any means, he can create this world again. So basically, that is what is implied there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem.
Thank you.
Ahsan, if you have a follow-up, you're very welcome to ask.
Oh, I think I'm good. I get the answer. Thank you.
So regarding contraception, somebody's asking if irreversible surgery is also allowed.
Yes, it is. I mean, if you do not like children for any reason, no children at all, that is a choice that you can make. But do remember that such choices are often choices that might make you regret. Maybe today you don't want children, but maybe after 5 years or 4 years, situation changes and you would like children. So it is better to always keep the control in your own hand, so you can have a free hand later on as well. But nonetheless, if you still think, then the choice is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, can we buy shares in stock exchange for 1, conventional banks, and 2, insurance companies, as these include interest-based businesses?
So all interest-based businesses should be avoided. You should not buy their shares, because in that way you'll become indirectly involved in that business. So such shares should be avoided as much as possible. And there are plenty of other shares that can be bought.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, Prophet Dawood and Sulaiman were Maluks. Then why did we regard Malukiyat as a contrast to Khilafat? Is Khilafat a distinct system of political governance, which is the opposite of Malukiyat?
So you see, that was an exception, and that exception was because these kings were prophets of God, and they were divinely guided, and therefore they could not have made any mistake, and if they would have made a mistake, they would have been corrected. So that should not be made an example. So the example that was given in the Quran, or the precedent that was being set, was for ordinary human beings. For them, it was the system of democracy, or shura, as the Quran says. And the word Khilafah must not be confused. It's not something that actually points to a system. Khilafah only means that, Khalifa means a person you're a political ruler. So Khilafah means something that relates to the political authority of the Muslims, or a political system. All that it means is a political system, and Khalifa means the ruler of the political system. And how that political system will come into being is mentioned in Surah Shura by the words Amruhum Shura Bainahum, which means that their system is based on their consultation, which means that it is the subjects or the citizens of a Muslim state, of a state in fact, that will determine who is going to rule over them by their majority mandate.
جی السلام علیکم، میری آواز آ رہی ہے؟
ہاں جی.
اچھا جی، اب میں اردو میں سوال کر رہا ہوں ڈاکٹر صاحب آپ سے. تھوڑا سا طویل ہو جائے گا، ذرا سا اس کو پلیز ذرا ڈیٹیل میں بتائیے گا، چاہے انگلش میں چاہے اردو میں، آپ کی مرضی. پہلا سوال جو ہے وہ ہے رسول اور نبی کے بارے میں، کہ قرآن سے کیسے پتہ لگتا ہے کہ رسول اور نبی میں کوئی فرق ہے، کیونکہ یہ انٹرچینجیبل بھی یوز ہوا ہے بار بار. اور ٹھیک ہے، قانون اتمام حجت میں نے پورا پڑھا ہے ان کا، امین احسن اصلاحی اور ان سب کا، تو اس میں انہوں نے ڈیفائن کیا کہ رسول جب آ جاتا ہے تو وہ زمین پہ یہ کہ عدالت قائم ہو جاتی ہے. لیکن بہت سارے اور رسول بھی ہیں جن کے بارے میں کوئی ذکر نہیں کیا. یحییٰ علیہ السلام، شعیب، آپ کے یہ اسماعیل علیہ السلام، یہ سب بھی رسول کی کیٹیگری میں، لیکن ان کی کوئی ایسی اتمام حجت کا معاملہ میں نظر نہیں آتا. یا زکریا علیہ السلام. تو اس میں کیسے ڈیفائن کریں گے کہ رسول اور نبی میں واقعی فرق ہے اکارڈنگ ٹو دی قرآن؟ اور یہ سوال یہ ہے. اور دوسرا سوال ہے میرے،
میں آپ کا ایک ایک کر کے جواب آپ کو دے دیتا ہوں. دیکھیے، جو آپ کے پہلے سوال کا جواب ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم سے لے کے ان سے اوپر تک اگر آپ آدم تک جائیں گے تو آپ کو ہر رسول کا جس کا تذکرہ قرآن مجید میں ہوا ہے ان کے بارے میں آپ کو ہر رسول کے بارے میں مل جائے گا کہ یہ اپنی قوم کی طرف بھیجے گئے، اور قوم پر انہوں نے صداقت کو واضح کیا، ان کے اعتراضات کے جوابات دیے، ان پر اتمام حجت کیا، اور اس کے بعد ان پہ دنیا ہی میں عذاب آیا. جبکہ کسی بھی نبی کے بارے میں یہ ذکر پورے قرآن مجید میں نہیں ہے. مزید یہ کہ بعض جگہوں پہ رسول کا جو لفظ ہے یہ اصطلاحاً یوز نہیں ہوا، بلکہ ایک بھیجنے والے کے مفہوم میں، جسے آپ انوائے کہتے ہیں نا، ریپرزینٹیو آف گاڈ. تو وہاں وہ رسول اور نبی کے تفریق سے ہٹ کے محض ایک بھیجے جانے والے کے مفہوم میں ذکر اس کا ہوا ہے، جس کی وجہ سے یہ کنفیوژن پیدا ہوئی ہے کہ غالباً یہ یہاں پہ رسول کا ذکر ہے. تو رسولوں کا نام لیا ہے، اور قرآن مجید نے اور اس سورہ مائدہ میں یہ بتایا ہے کہ رسول قد قصصناہم علیک ومن لم نقصصہم علیک، کہ ایسے رسول ہیں جن کو ہم نے آپ پر اس کا ذکر کیا ہے پیغمبر، اور ان سب کی فہرست پورے قرآن میں موجود ہے. اور ایسے بھی رسول ہیں جن کے بارے میں ہم نے آپ کا ذکر نہیں کیا کیونکہ عرب ان سے واقف نہیں تھے. تو عرب جن بھی رسولوں سے واقف تھے ان تمام کا ذکر قرآن مجید میں ہے. آپ کے ذہن میں اگر کوئی مثال آتی ہے تو میں اس کا جواب دے سکتا ہوں، ورنہ جو بنیادی فرق بیان.
جی، عرب جانتے تھے نا اسماعیل علیہ السلام کو، تو وہ ان کی قوم پہ کون سا عذاب آیا؟
یعنی ان کے بارے میں کہاں لکھا ہوا ہے کہ وہ رسول تھے؟
پورا ایک جو پورا انباء الرسول کا جو ایک کسی سورے میں ہے، اس میں اسماعیل علیہ السلام کا بھی ہے اس میں ذکر.
اگر فرض کیجئے رسول تھے تو دیکھیے ان کی قوم تو جن میں ان کی شادی ہوئی تھی وہ تو ہمیں معلوم ہے کہ بنو جرہم تھے، اور بنو جرہم پہ انہوں نے اتمام حجت کیا ہوگا. ظاہر ہے اس کا تذکرہ ہمارے پاس تفصیل سے موجود شاید نہیں ہے، لیکن تذکرہ کا موجود نہ ہونے کا مطلب یہ نہیں کہ وہ واقعہ نہیں ہوا تھا. یعنی رسول کے بارے میں یہ جو تفصیل ہے، دیکھیں نا، اس کا آپ اس طرح سے یہ جان لیجئے کہ جہاں پہ یہ بات بیان ہوئی ہے وہ یہ کہ فَإِذَا جَاءَ رَسُولُهُمْ قُضِيَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْقِسْطِ، یعنی ایک اصول سمجھ لیجیے. اطلاق تو بعد میں ہوگا نا، حالات جو ہیں رسولوں کے وہ ہم بعد میں دیکھیں گے. قرآن مجید کے جو 2 مقامات ہیں، ایک میں یہ ہے کہ لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رسول، یعنی ہر امت کو ہم نے رسول بھیجا. فَإِذَا جَاءَ رَسُولُهُمْ قُضِيَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْقِسْطِ، تو جب ان کا رسول ان کے پاس آ جاتا ہے تو دنیا میں ان کا فیصلہ کر دیا جاتا ہے. یہ سورہ یونس کی 47 نمبر آیت ہے. اسی طرح سے یہ کہا گیا سورہ نساء میں کہ رسول مبشرین و منذرین لئلا یکون للناس علی اللہ حجۃ بعد الرسول، یہ ہم نے رسول بھیجے ان کو خوشخبری دینے کے واسطے لوگوں کو، اور ان کو وارن کرنے کے لیے، ان کو خبردار کرنے کے لیے، تاکہ لوگوں کے پاس حق کے خلاف کوئی حجت نہ رہ جائے. تو یہ دونوں آیتیں اصولی آیتیں، یہ بتاتی ہیں رسولوں کا منصب کیا ہے، اور یہ بتاتی ہیں کہ جو رسول ہیں وہ دنیا میں فیصلہ کر دیتے ہیں. جو اگلا معاملہ ہے نا کہ کون سے رسول تھے کون سے نہیں تھے، ان کے بارے میں 2 رائیں ہو سکتی ہیں کیونکہ یہ تاریخ کا معاملہ ہے. لیکن فرض کیجئے کسی رسول کے بارے میں یہ آ گیا کہ وہ رسول تھے لیکن اس کی تفصیل نہیں آئی ہے، تو یہ ایسے ہی ہے کہ جیسے کسی رسول کا تذکرہ آ گیا لیکن اصولی بات بیان ہو گئی ہے کہ اس کے خلاف اتمام حجت اس نے اپنی قوم پہ کیا ہوگا اور عذاب آیا ہوگا، تاہم ضروری نہیں قرآن نے اس پر تذکرہ کیا ہو. تو آپ چلیں یہاں سے کہ جہاں قرآن پرنسپلز بیان کرتا ہے، اور سورہ یونس کی آیت 47 ہے جہاں یہ پرنسپل بیان ہوا ہے، اور ادھر سورہ نساء کی آیت غالباً 160 میں ہے، وہ آپ دیکھ سکتے ہیں.
جی اچھا، لیکن اس میں ایک چیز اور بھی ہے کہ یونس علیہ السلام ایک جگہ قرآن میں کہا ہے سورہ مومن میں شاید کہ جب عذاب آ جاتا ہے سامنے تو پھر کوئی ایمان جو ہے وہ نہیں ہے، نفع طلب نہیں ہے. لیکن اسی سورہ یونس میں آخر میں
ہاں
98 میں کہا گیا کہ عذاب نظر آ گیا تھا اور پھر ان کو جو ہے وہ کر دیا گیا، معاف کر
نہیں، وہ نہیں ایسا نہیں ہے. وہ تو یہ تھا کہ اس سے کچھ پہلے، یعنی کسی قوم کو عذاب سے فائدہ نہیں ہوا الا قوم یونس کے الفاظ آتے ہیں، سوائے قوم یونس کے، کیونکہ اس کو اس سے ذرا پہلے توفیق ہو گئی تھی معافی مانگنے کی. اللہ تعالیٰ نے پھر ان کو موقع دیا کہ وہ توبہ کریں اور توبہ کر کے ایمان لے کے آئیں. اس کو آپ دوبارہ پڑھیں اس حصے کو.
ٹھیک ہے. اچھا ایک جگہ ایک اور اس میں کنفیوژن ہے کہ یہ تو میں نے پڑھا کہ نبی کو قتل کیا گیا، لیکن کسی ایک آیت میں شاید رسول کا بھی لفظ ہے.
وہ فریقاً جی وہ میں آپ کو بتاتا ہوں، فریقاً کذبتم و فریقاً تقتلون کے الفاظ آتے ہیں، لیکن وہاں رسول اصطلاحی مفہوم میں نہیں ہے، وہاں پیغمبر کے مفہوم میں ہے، بھیجے جانے کے مفہوم میں ہے. اور دوسری ایک اور بات آپ سے کر دوں کہ جب اپنی دعوتی مشن کی کمپلیشن سے پہلے رسول کا انتقال یا اس کو قتل نہیں کیا جا سکتا، اس کے بعد پھر بھی قتل کیا جا سکتا ہے. یعنی اللہ تعالیٰ نے جس مقصد کے لیے ان کو بھیجا ہے، یوں سمجھیے کہ اس مقصد کو پورا جب کر لیں گے تو پھر ان کا کوئی بھی انجام ہو سکتا ہے. مقصد پورا کرنے کے دوران ان کو ختم نہیں کیا جا سکتا، چونکہ رسول کا یہ منصب ہے اور مقصد ہے کہ وہ دنیا میں اتمام حجت کرتے ہیں. تو جب تک وہ اتمام حجت نہ کر لیں ان کو کوئی غضن نہیں پہنچتی، ان کو کوئی نقصان نہیں پہنچتا.
چلے ٹھیک ہے، کافی ماشاءاللہ سے کلیئر ہے اس معاملے میں. دوسرا سوال اس معاملے میں تھا کہ جو قرآن میں لفظ گنتی کے لفظ استعمال ہوئے، جیسے سبا کا استعمال ہوا ہے 7، تو بہت سارے لوگ یہ کہتے ہیں جیسے سبا السماوات ہے، سبا المثانی ہے، 7 آسمان ہے اور 1 زمین. تو بہت سارے لوگ جو ہمارے یہاں ڈسکشنز میں یہ کہتے ہیں کہ یہ لفظ جو ہے یہ ایک اردو میں کہتے ہیں متعد، بہت سارے، جیسے 70 کا لفظ جو ہے استعمال ہوا سورہ توبہ میں کہ 70 دفعہ بھی تم استغفار کرو تو نہیں، تو اس کا مطلب 70 نہیں ہے بلکہ یہ کہ اتنی مرتبہ یہ کافی. تو سبا کے لیے بھی یہ کہتے ہیں کہ اس کا مطلب یہی ہے.
نہیں، زبان کے لحاظ سے یہ بات درست نہیں ہے. دیکھیں 70 کا جو لفظ ہے یہ زبان کے استعمال میں کثرت کے لیے بولا جا سکتا ہے. جیسے آپ کہتے ہیں میں نے تمہیں 70 دفعہ کہا، یہی معاملہ 10 کا ہے، میں نے آپ کو 10 دفعہ کہا. یہی معاملہ 100 کا ہے، میں نے آپ کو 100 دفعہ کہا ہے. 1000 کا بھی یہی معاملہ ہے. لیکن 7 کو کبھی آپ اس طرح سے نہیں کہتے کہ دیکھو میں نے تمہیں 7 دفعہ یہ بات کہی ہے، تم نے یہ بات نہیں میری مانی. تو زبان کے استعمالات ہوتے ہیں، یعنی جو تکسیر کے عدد ہوتے ہیں وہ سارے نہیں ہوتے. تو 7 کا جو عدد ہے وہ بھی کہیں بھی تکسیر کا نہیں ہے. پوری زبان میں آپ کو اس کی کوئی مثال نہیں دے سکتے، جبکہ باقیوں کی مثال دے سکتے ہیں. تو یہاں پہ ایگزیکٹ عدد مراد ہے.
اس کا مطلب صحیح ہے، جیسے سورہ یوسف میں 7 گائے کا ہے تو بس 7 کا ہی کا مسئلہ.
بالکل ایسے ہی، جی بالکل ایسے ہی. وہاں سبا بقرات کے جو الفاظ آتے ہیں وہ 7 گایوں کے لیے آتے ہیں.
لیکن یہ 7 آسمان والا جو معاملہ ہے یہ ابھی تک جو ہے وہ کلیئر نہیں ہوا. یہ
نہیں دیکھیں، اگر کلیئر نہیں ہوا تو ہو جائے گا. ہمیں تو یہ معلوم ہے کہ قرآن مجید نے جو بات کہی ہے وہ درست ہے. ہم نے ابھی ایک یونیورس دیکھی ہے جو ہمارے سامنے ہے، وہی اس کا ایکسپینس اتنا بڑا ہے کہ اس کو ہم پوری طرح کھنگال نہیں سکتے. اللہ نے اطلاع دی ہے اور کہا ہے کہ قیاس کر لو کہ جیسے یہ ایک ہیں اس طرح 6 اور بھی ہیں. تو قیاس کیا جاتا ہے تعدد کو ایک پر. اگر آپ ایک کے بارے میں مطمئن ہیں کہ بھئی وہ ایک سلسلہ، ایک لامتناہی ایک ایکسپینس ہے، وہ ایک انفیدمیبل اسپیس ہے، تو اگر ایک کے بارے میں اطمینان ہے تو اللہ میں صرف اطلاع دے رہے ہیں کہ دیکھو 6 اور بھی ہیں. اور کبھی نہ کبھی سائنس اس تک پہنچ جائے گی، اگر نہیں پہنچتی تو اس سے فرق نہیں پڑتا کیونکہ یہ خدا کی اطلاع ہے.
तो इसी का ज़ीली सवाल ये है कि ये जो है कुरान ने ज़्यादातर ज़मीन के साथ ज़मीन को सिंगुलर में इस्तेमाल किया और आसमान को प्लूरल में किया। तो ये बात तो समझ में आती है जब,
ऐसे ही
तो इससे क्या मुराद है कि ज़मीन नहीं है और सिर्फ ये 7 आसमान है?
नहीं, देखिए वो तो सूरह तलाक के आखिर में बता दिया कि वो मिनल अर्द मिसलाहुन्ना, यानी हमने सात सात यूनिवर्स बनाए और हर एक के पास हर एक की एक ज़मीन है।
नहीं, वहाँ ज़मीन में 7 नहीं है, वहाँ इसकी मिसल
ऐसे ही है ना, इस ज़मीन की मिसल व मिनल अर्द, इस ज़मीन की मिसल मिसलाहुन्ना, हमने 7 और ज़मीनें बनाई हैं। तो इससे साफ मालूम होता है कि हमारी तरह यानी कुल 7 ज़मीनें हैं जिनमें मुशाबहत पाई जाती है, हो सकता है ज़िंदगी के पहलू से पाई जाती हो। एक हमारी है और 6 और हैं।
अच्छा, ठीक है,
Thank
सही।
you.
ओके, थैंक यू, जज़ाकल्लाह।
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our next question asks, some ulama say that contraceptive surgery permanently alters the structure of a person's body in terms of their reproductive system, which is a contravention in of the verse 119 in Surah An-Nisa that says, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرَنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. So, like,
I mean, this is a very far-fetched interpretation. It does not alter. It just I mean, it is. I mean, you're not altering in the sense that you're distorting it. You see, the Surah Nisa verse refers to distortion and mutilation, in the sense that it will become a form of superstition for you. If you look at that verse, this is Satan telling people, "Wala amurannahum fala yughayyirunna khalqallah." I will make them distort and mutilate the creation of God the way people have been created. So that is Satan telling them that that's what I'm going to do. So this is not mutilation and this is not distortion. This is just sort of a benefit that we are deriving, that we just don't want that thing to happen. So that cannot be called distortion or mutilation in any way. And I don't agree with those scholars who use this verse for this purpose. This is basically Satan telling, I mean, it's like a ultimatum that Satan gave, that if you give me respite, then I'm going to lead your creation away, and I'm going to whisper various things to them, and in those whisperings I will mention them that you cut the ears of your cattle and you do all sorts of things that will lead you to superstition. So those are all superstitious practices which are being referred to. So this has nothing to do with it.
so as long as something doesn't have a superstitious background, so something like, for example, plastic
Yeah.
surgery just for the heck of it,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
so like that would be okay. Or what about
That
like
should be fine.
gender transitioning?
So it's not gender transitioning. I mean, gender transitioning would be that you're changing a gender, and it's like a gender reassignment surgery. So that too is something that can be taken advantage of, because you see there are issues and cases in which the third gender, as you could say, if they are operated upon at the right time, then the proper gender can be assigned to them. So that is a medical correction, and that's something that we should thank science for. But then there is this desire of changing one's gender. That is something that should not be, I mean, allowed, because God has created you with a gender, and you're born a male, and now you say that I'd like to become a female by gender reassignment surgery. So that is something in which you are not accepting God's verdict, and that should not happen. But in the case of any medical correction, or in the case of any anomaly that has resulted, this is a big service from science that I think should be taken advantage from.
So why does that same rule not apply to plastic surgery if you're born with a normal face, but then you'd like to make changes to it to fit in with?
Because now you're not changing your gender. I mean, you're just trying to embellish yourself. So I think embellishment is like makeup, it's like beautifying yourself, and we should leave this to the decision of a person. Maybe someone will not do it, someone would do it. So it's just enhancing what you already have.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Saleem. Javed Ahmed, please go ahead.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम
वालेकुम सलाम।
जनाब, आपसे बात करके बड़ी खुशी महसूस होती है। लेकिन ये जो अभी बात जो कही थी एक साहब ने, और आपने सूरह तलाक का हवाला दिया, तो इसमें सूरह तलाक के जो हवाले में जो इब्न कसीर में जो रिवायत एक नकल हुई है, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं, बस ज़्यादा डिटेल में बात नहीं करते आपसे, कि आप सब चीज़ जानते हैं, तो मुख्तसर बात कर लेते हैं हम कि वो रिवायत तफसीर है। तो उसमें जो तफसीर नकल हुई है, اس میں جو آیت وہاں پہ جو حدیث نقل ہوئی ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ 7 زمین اور آسمان ہیں، اور وہاں پر وہ آدم سے لے کے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم تک کا سلسلہ دوبارہ شروع ہوگا، ہو سکتا ہے، کچھ اس طرح سے روایت ہے۔
دیکھیں وہ روایت تو سرے سے کوئی متحقق روایت نہیں ہے، ایسی کوئی روایت جو کہ سند کے لحاظ سے صحیح ہو وہ نہیں ہے، اور یہ ان کا اپنا اس میں قیاس ہے۔ ایسی کوئی چیز بیان صحت کے ساتھ نہیں ہوئی۔ جو بات قرآن میں بیان ہوئی ہے وہ اتنی ہی ہے کہ 7 زمینیں اور 7 آسمان ہیں اس زمین کی طرح، بس ایک اجمال ہے۔ طرح کا مطلب ہے مشابہت پائی جاتی ہے۔ اب وہ کس طرح مشابہت پائی جاتی ہے؟ مثال کے طور پہ زندگی وہاں ہو سکتی ہے، یہ ایک مشابہت ہے۔ اسی طرح سے وہاں کا جو ایٹماسفیئر ہے وہ یہاں کے مثل ہو سکتا ہے، یہ ایک اور مشابہت ہے۔ لیکن ایسی کوئی اوتھینٹک بات کہ وہاں پہ بھی اسی طرح سے سلسلہ نبوت ہوگا یا آدم سے لے کے محمد تک ویسے ہی سلسلہ چلے گا، یہ سب قیاس آرائی ہیں اور ضعیف روایتوں پر مبنی ہیں۔
جی وہ تو چلیے ٹھیک ہے، ہو سکتا ہے ضعیف روایت ہو، ممکن ہے، کیونکہ روایت کے معاملے میں تو غامدی صاحب نے اور آپ نے کافی ریسرچ کر کے بہت ہی آسانی پیدا کرتی ہے۔ اور پھر دوسری بات یہ کہ جو جیسے غامدی صاحب بھی کہتے ہیں کہ اگر آپ کو اللہ تعالیٰ نے ایک چیز کے بارے میں ڈیٹیل نہیں دی تو اس کے بارے میں ہمارے پاس جاننے کا کوئی دوسرا ذریعہ
نہیں، سوائے اس کے کہ اگر کوئی روایت ایسی چیز بیان کرتی ہے جو صحت کے لحاظ سے نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم تک پہنچتی ہے تو ہم اس کو علم النبی کے کیٹیگری میں ڈالیں گے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ کے پیغمبر نے ایک ہمیں علم دیا، ایک نیوز دی ہے جو ٹھیک بھی ہو سکتی ہے اگر اس کی سند ٹھیک ہے، تو ایسا نہیں ہے کہ ہم اس کا انکار ہی کریں گے، لیکن اس کو کم سے کم نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم تک صحت سے بیان ہونا چاہیے، یعنی اوتھینٹکلی بیان ہونا چاہیے۔ ورنہ اس میں کوئی مطلب ہم اس کو یہ نہیں کہتے کہ ممکن نہیں ہے، اللہ تعالیٰ چاہے گا تو یہ ممکن ہے۔ اصل بات ہے کہ کیا انہوں نے یہ بات کہی ہے کہ نہیں کہی۔
جی چلیے ٹھیک ہے، بس ابھی اس میں اتنی سی بات ہے کہ بس 7 زمین اور آسمان ہو سکتے ہیں، بلکہ اللہ تعالیٰ نے
جی
کہا ہے وہ یقیناً ہوں گے، لیکن ان کی کیفیت کیا ہیں، کس طرح سے ہیں، تو وہ اس کے بارے میں ہمارے پاس کوئی ڈیٹیل نہیں ہے،
کوئی ڈیٹیل نہیں ہے۔ جی
یہ کہہ سکتے ہیں ہم۔ چلو بہت شکریہ، بہت شکریہ، السلام علیکم۔
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Rashid Typer, you're up next. Please go ahead.
السلام علیکم استاذ۔
وعلیکم السلام۔
استاذ امید ہے کہ آپ خیریت سے ہوں گے۔ استاذ آپ سے
Rashid, your voice got cut off.
امام ابو حنیفہ نے عورت اور مرد کی نماز کہا کہ جو
Rashid,
ابھی آواز آ رہی ہے؟ جی جی
ہاں جی آ رہی ہے، اگر آپ دوبارہ سے پلیز اسٹارٹ کر لیں اپنے
جی۔
سوال۔
استاد محترم، جو امام ابو حنیفہ کے ماننے والے ہیں وہ جو عورت اور مرد کا نماز کا طریقہ ہے جو ادا کرنے والا، حالانکہ ان کا جو اسٹرکچر ہے وہ تو سیم ہے، لیکن جو رکوع کرتے ہیں وہ تھوڑا سا ڈیفرنٹ کرتے ہیں، ہاتھ کہاں پر باندھنے ہیں، جو عورت اور مرد کی نماز میں فرق ہے، وہ کون سی دلیل پہ یہ کہتے ہیں؟ حالانکہ حضرت محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے تو فرمایا، جو صحیح بخاری میں بھی روایت ہے، کہ جس طرح مجھے پاتے ہو نماز پڑھتے ہوئے اسی طرح پڑھو۔ تو دیکھیں امام ابو حنیفہ نے یہ کیسے اخذ کیا ہے؟
نہیں، پہلی بات تو یہ کہ امام ابو حنیفہ سے تو اس طرح کی کوئی بات ثابت نہیں ہے، ان کے بعد کے لوگوں میں یہ بات ہے جو مشہور ہو گئی ہے، یہ تو آپ کو ان سے ہی پوچھنا چاہیے، کیونکہ جب ہم نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی طرف سے یہ سن لیتے ہیں کہ سلو کما رأیتمونی مصلی، کہ جس طرح میں پڑھتا ہوں نماز، وہ انہوں نے یہ بات مردوں اور عورتوں دونوں کو مخاطب کر کے کہی ہے۔ اس کا مطلب ہے کہ بنیادی طور پہ کوئی تفریق نہیں ہے، اور نہ قرآن نے کوئی تفریق کی ہے اور نہ پیغمبر سے کوئی صحت کے ساتھ ثابت ہے۔ اب یہ جو بعض متاخرین احناف ہیں، یہ آپ کو ان سے ان کی دلیل پوچھنی چاہیے، اور سب سے اچھا یہ ہے کہ آپ بدایت المجتہد میں اس باب کو نکال کے دیکھ لیں، وہ ان کی رائے آپ کو معلوم ہو جائے گی۔
اچھا استاذ، وہ یہ سوال ہے کہ یہ تو پھر کہ نماز تواتر کے ساتھ نقل کی گئی ہے، اس میں جو اسٹرکچر ہے کہ ہم نے الحمدللہ سورہ فاتحہ پڑھنے، بے شک اسی طرح منتقل
جی
ہوا ہے، چاہے وہ اہل تشیع میں پایا جائے، لیکن اتنا مطلب چینج ہونا یہ کیسے ہو سکتا ہے؟ یہ مجھے سمجھ نہیں آتا۔
نہیں، میں عرض کر رہا ہوں نا کہ سمجھ تو مجھے بھی نہیں آتا، اس وجہ سے ہم تو نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے جو نماز تواتر سے ہمیں منتقل کی اسی کو فالو کریں گے، اور اس میں کوئی مرد اور عورت کی تفریق نہیں رکھی۔ اس میں اگر انہوں نے کوئی تفریق کی ہے تو میں آپ سے عرض کر رہا ہوں نا کہ آپ ان سے پوچھیے، اور اگر آپ نے ان سے پوچھنا ہے، ان کی دلیل جاننی ہے، وہ عام طور سے جہاں تک مجھے ہے وہ آثار پہ اپنی بنیاد رکھتے ہیں، صحابہ کی کسی اوپینین پہ بنیاد رکھ لی یا کسی صحابی کی بنیاد پہ رائے رکھ لی۔ اصل میں ایسی کوئی چیز میرے علم کی حد تک نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم سے صحت کے ساتھ سرے سے ثابت نہیں ہے۔
اچھا ایک چھوٹا سا ایڈ کروں گا، جیسے اہل تشیع علی ولی اللہ اذان میں کہتے ہیں، وہ تواتر سے ثابت نہیں، وہ ہم کہہ سکتے ہیں کہ یہاں پر ایڈ کیا گیا ہے، تو ہم اس کو حدیث سے ویریفائی کر رہے ہیں نا، کہ حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے فرمایا کہ ہم نے جو میری طرح نماز پڑھو، تو ہم اس کو سنت میں جا کر امت سے کیسے اس کو
نہیں، ہم تو حدیث تو ہم محض سنت کی تباہ میں کوٹ کر رہے ہیں، حدیث سے تو ہم استدلال نہیں کر رہے، ہم امت کے اجماع سے دیکھ رہے ہیں۔ امت کا اجماع اور امت سے جو ہمیں نماز منتقل ہوئی ہے، اس میں کوئی تفریق نہیں ہے۔ یہ بات ہم حدیث سے اخذ نہیں کر رہے، حدیث تو صرف سنت کے بارے میں ایک ریکارڈ ہمیں بتا رہی ہے، ایک بات بتا رہی ہے، ورنہ فرض کیجئے کہ وہ حدیث نہ ہوتی तो हमारा मदार उस हदीस पे नहीं है, हमारा मदार उस सुन्नत पे है जिसके ज़रिए से नमाज में मुंतकिल हुई है। वो जो रवायत है वो तो सिर्फ सुन्नत को बयान कर रही है। तो बयान करने का मतलब, अगर नहीं बयान कर रही तो हमारा असल में जो इन्हिसार है वो सुन्नत पर है, ना कि हदीस पे।
Rashid, do you have any more
ठीक है
follow-up
उस्ताद,
questions?
बहुत शुक्रिया दीदी, बहुत शुक्रिया उस्ताद।
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Just as a follow-up to Rashid's question, when ladies are praying and if they notice that the imam has made a mistake, they're told to like clap like this, but then the men are told to say Allahu Akbar. Is that also something that people added later on?
No, it's something that the Prophet told them, that this is something that if you would like to correct your imam, this is how you should do so.
So there he made a distinction between males and females.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he did so because he said that women who, because of their own modesty, might not think it appropriate. And again, this is something that was meant as in that cultural practice. Today, if, I mean, any means can be adopted to correct a prayer leader. That was just a recommendation, just to recap. That was just a recommendation in the cultural circumstances of those days in which women would normally not do so.
It wouldn't work nowadays anyway because women are like usually they're praying in a completely separate.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, they are praying separately, and at the same time, I mean, the quantity of people has multiplied many-fold. So, I mean, only those sitting in the first row would be the ones that might do it. Again, women, of course, normally they are not sitting in the first row, but this also tells us that in those times, such was the nature of the congregational prayer that in case a woman would do so, then the prayer leader would have heard her, which would mean that it was a smaller congregation. It would also mean that it was something that was acceptable.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. I'd like to remind all the participants that questions are taken in the order that they are received, so please wait your turn. Naushad Shafkat, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab, I'd like to know the method of dating the surahs, because it is said that in Surah Muzammil, the last ayat, which I believe refers to the exemption of ordinary Muslims from the Tahajjud prayer, it was revealed in Medina, while the rest of the surah was revealed in Mecca. So
Correct.
how is this distinction made, sir?
This is from the context. I mean, something which is from within the context of the surah that tells us that it was something that that must have taken place in Medina. For example, if you look at that part, you'll see that it relates to jihad, and jihad is something that was not even in question in Mecca. It was only in Medina. So if you continue with that verse, it says, "Inna rabbaka ya'lamu annaka taqumu min adna sulusay al-layli wa nisfahu wa sulusahu wa ta'ifatu min allazina ma'ak." And then it says, those people who go out for jihad and those people who fight for the cause of God. So all these words tell us that this could not have been in Mecca, because in Mecca there was no such allowance to wage war. So the rest of the text tells us that this was something that must have taken place in Medina.
So the context determines the place
Oh,
of
yes.
revelation
Oh, yes.
of the surah,
Oh, yes.
according to the Quran school. Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our next question asks, is it a must requirement of religion that the political representatives of an Islamic state should be well versed with Islamic knowledge and preferably be ulama of the deen?
Not at all. Not at all. Because the Quran does not impose any such distinction. It says, Amruhum shura bainahum. Their system is based on their consultation. Whoever Muslims are, if they are well educated, the system will be better. If they are less educated, the system will not be better. But it is the prerogative of every Muslim to have his say. This has not been mentioned in any place that people should be scholars or they should be, well versed in dictates of religion. And in fact, if this was the case, then this would not have been a shura or a democracy, it would have been a theocracy. It's in a theocracy in which only people who have theocratic knowledge or who are able to grasp the basics of religion are given the right to choose a ruler. And this is a model that is being followed in Iran, in which basically scholars are ruling the whole country. But this is not the model which, according to our understanding, is in the Quran. The Quran does not impose any such distinction. It says amruhum shura bainahum, which means that it is their people, whoever those are. If they are better educated, of course, it will be a better system. So the whole stress is that if you'd like to make that system better, then educate your people as much as you can. The more their education, the better will be the system. A system cannot work in isolation. You just cannot select a few people. And that is again something that, had God wanted, He would have clearly said. He just generalized it and said that any person who classifies or calls himself a Muslim will have the right to have a say in the political consultation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Ahsan, please go ahead.
Salim Doc. Another age-old question about interest. I think I've heard your answer about one of the questions that you should avoid banking. I understand. I think to a larger extent that we should. But I was listening to, so in the West, massages are accepting credit cards for donations in the massages. Now, that's one point on the side. And the other thing is, we tend to sort of believe that we're not in the interest business. However, even the Swiss system, the system where the banking works, they're all based on interest somewhere along the lines, whether it's Saudi, Paki, anything, even the folks who claim to go interest free, they have to deal with these banks where interest is taken. Now, so I was listening to one of the answers from Ghamidi Saab, when he said that if the interest is for your provisions, then it is haram or it's not accepted. But if you're going to use it to produce something which is a business or multiply it, then that is considered as a business transaction rather than an interest transaction.
So I think you might not have fully understood him. That is not what he says or what he has written. You see, any interest taken from the bank is absolutely fine. The paying of interest is not a crime at all. It is the charging of interest that is a crime. For example, a banker charges interest. A bank charges interest. So all the element of wrongdoing is on the part of the bank. We as consumers, whether we take that loan for our personal use or whether we take it for our business use, we are just borrowing money. And borrowing money on interest has not been forbidden at all in the Quran. It is paying of interest and the person who receives interest. So whether it's a credit card, whether it's like a mortgage, whether you're buying a car, you are just borrowing money. So that is absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it.
But then that defeats the purpose of a business transaction. Again, not that I want to give loan, but in Muslim world, this particular practice is not happening because, so people even shy away. They don't even want to give money.
No, you see, this is not happening because of a hadith. Remember this. The Quran is absolutely devoid of any verse which says that paying of interest is disallowed. There is not a single place in the Quran. And this is something which Ustad Ghamidi has clarified a number of times. What he has said is that people who charge interest, or who are bankers themselves or bank themselves, are the ones to blame. And other people who think that paying interest is also forbidden, they don't base their claim on the Quran, because the Quran does not have this written anywhere. It is a hadith which says that you should not take interest or you should not pay interest. That has been understood in this way. But if you look at it deeply, it does not actually, in any way say that paying interest is forbidden. It says people who facilitate an interest bearer person, a person who is an interest Mughal, and who are his agents, who bring about people to him so that he could use them as his agents and therefore increase his business, they are the ones that are prohibited. So that too, as I said, is a misunderstanding of a hadith. As far as the Quran is concerned, it is absolutely clear that it is only the charging of interest that is prohibited. The paying of interest is from this particular hadith, and that hadith has been misunderstood. So he has made this clear in his lectures also, and he's written a small article on this also. You might find it in his collection that is called Burhan. It's called Maqamat.
Okay. So how would I be compensated for a loan that I'd like to give it for somebody who wants to do business?
So you can become a partner, and that partnership can be principal secured, which means that you're not going to have a share in the loss, and you'll just tell that person that if you have profit, then my share of that profit is, let's say, 10% or 15% or whatever you think is equitable. So in other words, the nature of your transaction would be that you're not going to disregard the practice of the person who borrows money from you. You will tell that person that my interest is that I'm giving you 100 rupees or $100. If you earn from these $100, then my commission is 10% or 15% or whatever. But if you don't, then I'm not going to charge you anything. But my principal is going to remain secure, and I can withdraw it on the conditions that you can, of course, jot down with him. This is called principal secure financing. It is not profit and loss financing, which people normally do, which means that they have a share in the loss also, and they have a share in the profit also. No, this is principal secured financing, which means you only have a share if the person is earning. So this does away with the element of oppression and injustice, because now you're charging that person only when he's earning. So what makes interest is that you charge a person whether he earns or whether he loses. So this is principal secured financing, in which you say, okay, I'm giving you this money, you invest it in your business, and if you're earning from your business, then my share is such and such. But if you're not earning, then I would like my money back. That's all.
Okay. It's a little different way of handling the interest part, but or return on capital. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. We have a couple of chat questions. The first one asks, there is a hadith which says that Khilafat will remain for 30 days, followed by Malukiyat. Here, the two have been mentioned as opposing systems. What are the differentiating characteristics of the two systems, and does Islam recognize both of the terms?
So if here the word Khilafat actually refers to the Shura part, which means that people who will have a say. Every person will be part of the political process. Mulukiyat is monarchy, which means that it will remain within the royal family, and the monarch is going to transfer power to his kin, maybe to a nephew, maybe to a son. So that is what distinguishes it. In monarchies, in dictatorships, the authority lies with the family. It's like a royal family. But in Khilafah, that is not the case, especially when it is mentioned in this way. It only means that the reference here is to the rightly guided caliphate or the Khilafat al-Rashida, in which the election or the selection was made on the basis of people participating in that, and not just because the rule was amongst a particular group of people or a particular family. So basically, Malukiyat is referring to monarchy or a royal sort of transfer of power from the king to the son, and so on and so forth. So that is what is being said, that for some time Khilafah will remain, which means that the system of governance that will be in place would be the one in which people will be elected. And later on, this would be discontinued, and now the time will come when instead of people being elected, it would be like a choice made by the ruler to transfer the reins of his power to a son or a nephew or any blood relative.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. I misspoke. It's not 30 days, it's 30 years.
30 years, yeah. Referring to the Khilafat al-Rashid, actually.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, I am 22 and alhamdulillah, I have achieved many more than many people my age. I respect that everyone views life differently, but how can somebody who has never faced my struggles decide that I am living the wrong way? I have worked extremely hard for everything, yet others' opinions seem to dismiss that effort completely. Doesn't Allah love a successful, striving believer more than the one that only seeks enjoyment without purpose?
So what is the question? I could not get the question. No one has the right to debar you from any such exercise that you're doing. If people are condemning you for any reason for your success, it is, you need to care about them. And if you think that you're not getting the opportunity to do so, remember, life is a trial and a test. And so we have to keep on trying and trying and remain positive and keep on trying to find a way. So I need to understand that what exactly are you getting at from this question?
I'd request the questioner to, if you'd like to elaborate further, please go ahead, do so that we can continue with answering that question. In the meantime, I have a question of my own. So this is regarding Musa alayhi salam. At that time, Pharaoh wanted to kill all the boys, right? And that's why they had
Right.
to put Musa alayhi salam in a basket. But then how did Harun alayhi salam, his brother, escape that?
It does seem that just as Moses escaped, it does seem that Aaron also escaped, and that is particularly something that could have happened with God's authority and power. And this is not mentioned, of course, in the Quran, or I believe in the Bible also. But it does show that just as he was somehow, secure from this scheme, the same thing happened to Aaron. And also, we don't know the exact difference of age between the two. This could always be a possibility that the directive was discontinued when Aaron was born. It is a possibility. I'm not saying it's a definite thing. So this is one possibility, and the other possibility, of course, is that he was through divine intervention, he too was saved. But this episode is not mentioned anywhere.
So he was his younger or older brother?
He was his younger brother.
Sorry, Musa alayhi salam was older?
Moses was older, of course. He was older and Aaron was younger.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. So far we're awaiting more questions. I guess in the meantime, I'll use this opportunity to ask another question. This one is regarding choosing a partner in hereafter. And one of the common du'as in this world is that whoever you pick a partner in this world, may they remain a partner for you in the hereafter. But then why do we have a choice to change, or why do we make a dua to stay with the same person if we have the choice to change in the hereafter?
I mean, this is your choice. You don't need to exercise that choice. I mean, it's a prayer that you can make that, God, I have found a spouse which is so understanding and so committed and so congenial to my relationship that I would like the same in the hereafter. It's a dua that you are allowed to make, you can make, and it's a dua is fulfilled according to God's own circumstances. And maybe if you make this dua, maybe your partner is not willing to stay with you. So remember, your own dua is something that can only work if your partner or your spouse is also willing to do the same. And also, this could be something different, because once you turn up in the hereafter and you see so much there, that you might even change your mind. So I think basically it's like a loose-ended sort of a thing. You have lots of choices here and you have lots of choices there. There's nothing binding.
You wouldn't feel upset at your partner if they chose somebody else? You wouldn't have those feelings?
No, you would not, because this is something which the Quran tells us, that in the hereafter, all these negative feelings of jealousy and envy and all things related to such emotions would just vanish from you. You'll be magnanimous, you'll have a generous heart, and things will work in a different way. So you should not regard the mechanism that we go through in this world analogous to what will happen in the next world.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Saleem. Our next question asks, if Khilafat, ruling through Shura and elections, lasted for 30 years up to the rulership of Hassan, then that also means that the rules of Muawiyah and onwards were Malukiyat and against the spirit of Shura.
Correct. That is correct. But then, of course, we need to this would be some sort of an academic question, when on the day of judgment, it would be asked from Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, that what exactly were you thinking when you were doing this? So you see, we cannot judge people simply on the data of the Quran. We don't know the inside of a person, and this judgment is something that will come from God. And rest assured, it will be a very just decision or a verdict that God will pass. Because you see, at times that a person is not able to do what the ideal is because of a lot of compelling circumstances, a lot of constraints, and he's pushed and compelled to do something. So he might be having a very valid reason. So we just cannot make a value judgment on the basis of a decision, because we don't know all the circumstances and his inner battles that he might be fighting. This would only become evident on the day of judgment, and I'm pretty sure that the verdict God will give will be entirely based on justice. And also, I think that Muawiyah would be having a very, very valid excuse, which we might not know at this time.
Thank you for that, Dr. Saleem. Naseem, please go ahead.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। एक सवाल और है, इससे कुरान से मुतालिक नहीं है, सिर्फ एक जनरल आपसे मालूमात चाहता हूँ मैं कि एक तो जो गामदी साहब के साथ जो है पूरी नशिश 23 एतराज़ात के ऊपर हुई है, तो मैंने सुना है कि शायद वो पब्लिश भी हो गई है। तो वो कहाँ अवेलेबल है, वो बुक की सूरत में है, और मुझे यहाँ कैसे मुझे मिल सकती है, कनाडा में या अमेरिकन जो गामदी सेंटर ऑफ इस्लामिक लर्निंग है उस पर मैंने देखा था साइड में, आप वहाँ मुझे नज़र नहीं आई।
I think the best way would be to call them up. They have a number. You just need to call them. What I know from my own knowledge is that some parts of that series have been published, and the remaining are still to be published. At least 6 or 7 of them have been published. You can just go to their website, call them up, and you'll get an answer.
ओके, थैंक यू। अच्छा, ये दो किताब का और आपके नॉलेज में है कि ये ज़मश्शरी की जो तफसीर थी उसकी कई एवर इंग्लिश या उर्दू ट्रांसलेशन हुआ है?
No, not yet. Not to my knowledge.
नहीं हुआ। और एक मोहम्मद अब्दू की जो अलमनार है, क्या उसका ट्रांसलेशन हुआ है?
Again, I'm not sure about it. I mean, about Zamakhshari, I'm absolutely sure, but Al-Manar, of course, is not a very primary form of tafsir. So you can just Google it and look it up.
Google it, but I didn't find it.
Thank you very much. Adil
Thank you.
Qureshi, please. Adil Qureshi, please go ahead.
जी Assalamualaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
So there is Ghamdi's opinion about one name that I'm forgetting. That he thinks that that person is the Imam Mahdi, and he has already arrived and gone and left the world. I was discussing it with somebody, but I just forgot the name. Was it Omar bin Abdul Aziz or some?
It was Amir Muawiyah. It was, if you're asking for Ghamdi Sahab's opinion, originally he thought it was Umar bin Abdul Aziz, but then he changed his opinion. And now that he has changed his opinion, his new opinion is about, he says that this is something that was, the insinuation is towards Amir Muawiyah.
Right. And where can I find the...
You'll find it published in the first volume of Ilmun Nabi that has been recently published. You'll find his opinion there, and also you'll find his opinion in his latest version of Meezan. He has, in the latest version of Meezan, he has updated his opinion.
Okay, got it. And so second, just a quick figure question about the prayer timings. Some people think that Maghrib is only valid for up to 40 or 45 minutes, but I think I heard you once saying that Maghrib is valid all the way from the start of Maghrib till the start of Isha.
That's correct.
Oh,
that is absolutely... No, not at all. I mean, you have the Maghrib. It's like saying, I mean, not just this prayer. The Zuhr prayer extends until the start of Asr. The Asr prayer extends until the start of Maghrib. And the Maghrib prayer extends until the start of Isha.
However, Isha does not go all the way until...
No, it goes so that is until midnight. So Isha goes until midnight. And from midnight onwards, we have the Tahajjud time. And then when the Tahajjud time finishes, we have the Fajr time.
Right, and the formula to calculate midnight was the start of Maghrib and the start of Isha and the...
No, start of Maghrib no. It's sunrise and sunset. The time between sunrise and sunset should be divided to 2 and then added to sunset.
Got it. So sunset and sunrise. Time from the sunset of Maghrib all the way until
the sunrise of Fajr, of the next day.
The next day of Fajr. Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Queen. Our next question asks, is it a sin to eat to your full stomach or to overeat? And if you could please answer in Urdu.
ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम से हमें मिली हो कि जिसमें हमें रोका गया हो कि पेट भर के आप नहीं खा सकते। ये आपके ऊपर छोड़ा गया है। मज़हब इन चीज़ों में मुदाखलत नहीं करता। आपकी मर्ज़ी है आप पेट भर के खाएँ, आपकी मर्ज़ी है कि आप भूख रख के खाएँ। यानी हर एक का अपना एक तरीका होता है, इसमें मज़हब ने कोई पाबंदी नहीं लगाई।
Oh, what about that hadith that's where it's like, oh, you need to have 33% for air?
No, इस तरह की कोई चीज़ नहीं। there is no such narrative which is authentically reported from the Prophet.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks if you could please explain the rationale for Muawiyah as Mahdi.
Well, I mean, Mahdi, the word Mahdi means Hidayat, the person who is rightly guided. And so, according to Ustad Ghamidi, the traits of a Mahdi, the person who's going to arrive, they are foretold by the Prophet. So, the Prophet has foretold that there will be a righteous caliph after me, and he'll have all these attributes. And you can look up the details that he has pointed out in this book and his Meezan. But primarily, he refers to the fact that it is going to occur near the end of the first period of his Khilafah, which of course is the Khilafah Rashida, the first 4 caliphs. And right after that, the caliph that was installed was of course Amir Muawiyah. So that is how he says that it was Amir Muawiyah about whom the Prophet had said that there will be a Mahdi, which means a person who's going to be rightly guided.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. I'm waiting for the person to continue. Salman, if you'd like to continue with your question, please do so in the chat. And in the meantime, we'll take Noshat Shafkat. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I by mistake pressed the button. I'm thinking of
No
the question. I'll definitely do it.
No worries. Salman Aziz, would you like to talk about the Itiraz series? Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, that was just a comment that it's something a bit strange for me. I have not heard it earlier that he has shared his opinion about Mehdi as Muawiyah. And I was just commenting that another maybe Etras series is in the making.
Oh,
Could be.
thank you.
My question is so that there was a debate a few days back about the Haqiqat-e-Waqia, the word. So how we declare that something is Haqiqat-e-Waqia and not somebody's personal opinion? And how can we differentiate between accusing somebody, naming somebody about something, and saying that we are not accusing anybody and it's haqiqat waqia? We see politicians that time, people saying that everybody knows, सब लोग ये कहते हैं, सब लोगों का ये ख्याल है. So how we differentiate between?
I mean, it's a very, very simple. So you see, it's quite simple. Things which are established history, they are referred to as haqiqat-e-waqia, which means that there cannot be any difference. For example, Usman became a caliph, that's haqiqat-e-waqia. I mean, it's something that cannot be disputed. So everything which is indisputable is called haqiqat-e-waqia, but an opinion is something about which there could be a difference of opinion. So maybe people can have a difference of opinion that, well, Usman was elected by people who should not have been in the electoral college, and they were basically people who had actually done such and such a thing, and therefore it should have been a wider electoral college. So that is now a personal opinion or maybe an interpretation. So an opinion and interpretation always relates to a part of that whole established historical event. So when you say haqiqat-e-waqia, it means something that is indisputable. Like for example, Quaid-e-Azam made Pakistan, this is haqiqat-e-waqia. But whether Quaid-e-Azam was helped or whether Quaid-e-Azam had some other things that you could have said that, well, there were problems in his life and he had enemies, and there are people who accuse Liaquat Ali Khan of poisoning him, etc. So these are all opinions that people are giving about an event. So an event which is indisputable becomes established history, and that is called something that cannot be denied. It's haqiqat, you have no other version. But wherever you have another version, that you say is your own interpretation or your own opinion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our next question comes from iPhone. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem. Two-part question. Just first, playing on the same one, I guess, what distinguished the change, it's very high level because you've already mentioned there's a separate study on this, between the grandson of Hazrat Umar being perceived as Imam Mahdi and now Hazrat Muawiyah, because obviously Hazrat Muawiyah, there's some dispute of how he came to power or with Hazrat Ali's time. Like any key features that made Al-Mawrid rethink who it is. And part two was, does this mean that basically the only people really that we're waiting for to come, which is not Isa alayhi salam or Imam Mahdi, would really be the Dajjal? Would that be a fair interpretation?
First of all, Al-Mawrid did not rethink anything. It is basically Ghamidi Saab's opinion. And his opinions, of course, they do evolve and they have their own merits and demerits. You can read his opinion, as I said, in his recent book published, it's called Ilmun Nabi. He's given his reasons. And as far as the Dajjal is concerned, you will see that it is a different entity altogether. So the actual word which often are missed out, the complete phrase is not Dajjal, it is Al-Masihud Dajjal, which means the false Messiah or the Antichrist. And it actually means that there will be a person near the end of times who will call himself to be a Christ, whereas he will be speaking a lie. He would not be the Christ. So he'll be an Antichrist, a person who would be posing as Christ. So we must make a distinction between Mahdi and Masih. I mean, Mahdi and Masih, of course, as you can see, the words are different. Mahdi is referring to another entity. Masih is referring to, or Dajjal actually is referring to Al-Masih Dajjal, which means a Masih who's Dajjal. Dajjal means someone who's a deceiver. So he's a deceiver who's going to pose himself as Masih. So this is a separate entity, and this is some about which we know from Hadith literature that he's going to be born near the end of times, and he's going to pose himself to be Jesus. And we also know that Muslims are waiting for Jesus, Christians are waiting for Jesus, and the Jews are also waiting for a Messiah. So all these three Abrahamic traditions are waiting for some kind of Messiah or Jesus, and hence it does seem that this person will take advantage of this tradition and say that I am the one that you're waiting for. So that is a separate affair. Mahdi is a separate thing. And about Mahdi, as you can see from his work, Ustad Ghamidi's work, which has been published, that almost 99% of the narratives which relate to Mahdi are all not reliably traced back to the Prophet. There is only one narrative that can be reliably traced back to the Prophet, and that narrative, if you look at the narrative in context, actually relates to Amir Muawiyah. That is a summary of his opinion, but as I said, you need to look it up in detail to form your own opinion.
Okay, thank you so much. Noshad Shafkat, please go ahead and please try to keep your questions very concise.
Very precise, inshallah. Dr. Saab, just wanted to know if you could throw some light on Ghamidi Saab's opinion with regard to raising of the finger when in the sitting position in namaz, because he has revised it according to you and is going to be published in Meezan.
It has been published. If you look at the latest Meezan, it has already been published.
Sir, I went to the book fair just in December, and I asked Azim Ayub Saab, and he said, no, we have copies of the old Meezan still there, and only after they are exhausted or come to the end, we will revise it. Could you throw some light on that?
Yes. So basically, his opinion was that this raising of the finger is like a substitute for praying to God. Like instead of raising your hands, you're just pointing your finger. And there is no particular place that has been prescribed, but because the At-Tahiyyat posture is a posture in which you pray to God. So when you raise your finger, it's like a substitute for raising your hands. That's all that he said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
very much. Javed Ahmed, please go ahead and please try to be very concise. Javed Ahmed. Okay, we'll come back to. Oh.
Hello, yes, assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry. Ghamidi साहब ने आई थिंक ये सब चीज़ें वेरी क्लियर कर दी हैं, काफ़ी उन्होंने जो बातें करी हैं एतराज़ात सीरीज में, इसके अलावा वक्तन वक्तन वो करते रहते हैं। लेकिन कोई ऐसा इंसान, कोई गैर मामूली इंसान ऐसा दुनिया में आ सकता है जो दावा करे कि मैं मसीह हूँ, तो वो दज्जाल है, क्योंकि दज्जाल एडजेक्टिव फिगर है। तो लेकिन ऐसा इंसान फिल वक्त तो आएगा तो इट्स क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट। मुमकिन है कि दुनिया इस पोजीशन पे चली जाए कि आफ्टर 100-200 इयर्स कोई ऐसी चीज ऊपर से आसमान से नाजिल कर दी जाए, क्योंकि आपको मालूम है कि आज भी हम कोई भी चीज आसमान से नाजिल कर सकते हैं बड़े आराम से। तो हो सकता है लोग उसमें धोखे।
हाँ, लेकिन देखिए वो जो रवायात हैं उसमें कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है कि वो आसमान से नाजिल होंगे, बल्कि वो क्लेम करेंगे कि वो अल्लाह की तरफ से हैं। ऐसे है कि वो इस चीज़ को क्लेम करेंगे और उस क्लेम में वो कुछ ऐसा कर दिखाएंगे जिससे लोगों को धोखा हो जाएगा कि जैसा ये मसीह है। तो जैसे एक बहरूपिया होता है, वो आप कुछ अरसे के लिए उसके बहरूप में आ जाते हैं, धोखे में आ जाते हैं। तो वो ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है कि उनको आसमान से नाजिल किया जाएगा, इस तरह की कोई जिक्र नहीं हुआ, बल्कि ये कहा गया है कि वो ऐसे बहरूप धारेंगे जिससे लोगों को धोखा हो जाएगा।
लेकिन इस पॉइंट अभी इतनी मतलब इस कमिंग मतलब इस एज में तो मुश्किल है होना, हो सकता है कि
जी हाँ, यानी अभी तो जाहिर है कि इसका हमें कोई पता नहीं, लेकिन हमें ये बताया गया कि नियर द एंड ऑफ टाइम दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द साइंस ऑफ द डे ऑफ जजमेंट।
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. One more chat question before we end our session for today. This one's asking, we're declaring Muawiyah as a monarch, and at the same time we're declaring him as Mahdi. Is it not possible that the hadith of Khilafah lasting for 30 years might be concocted and politically motivated by the opposition group at the time?
No, certainly not, because you see the words of the hadith, I mean, you need to know how hadith gets concocted. We have concocted people who are guilty of concoction, and there are no such narrators in that hadith about which we can say that they have deliberately fabricated it, that there's not a chance. And remember one thing, that what we see in our historical analysis is not always the case that might actually be there. Although Muawiyah was the beginner of the monarchy in our Muslim history, but as I said, there were several other attributes in him that had combined to perhaps make him merit this title. And also, we don't know what, maybe he had a very compelling reason for not going for an election, or maybe this was something about which he thought that he could have an exception in this case because of the situation. So you see, we just cannot give a value judgment that what made him turn away. And there is another possibility also, that he might be having a different interpretation of the verse Amruhum Shura Bainahum. So all these possibilities are there. We cannot judge a person by the data we have, and the judgment that we can make about that person can only be valid if we know all the circumstances, which we don't. So I think we should wait for God to pronounce his judgment, and I don't think that there would be anything that would be against him. I think that he might have had all the justification to do whatever he did, and he could also have made a mistake. Remember, mistakes are also human. So, but he did not do anything wrong deliberately. That I am pretty confident of, because we know that the Quran has called the Sahaba as the Khair Ummah, which means the best community. The Ahadith also reflect on this. So he would not have made a deliberate error. That is the best thing that should happen. We can all make mistakes, but they should not be deliberate. Deliberate means that I know what I should do, but I still don't do what I should do. So that is deliberate. That's intentional. So as long as you're not making any intentional mistake, if you're making an error of judgment, that is acceptable to God as long as you're sincere and you're exercising your best judgment.
Thank you very much for everyone for joining us today, and thank you so much, Dr. Saleem, for another fantastic Ask session. Inshallah, we'll see you all tomorrow in another session of textual study of the Quran. And until then, please take care, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.